Tov, everyone. Erev Tov. It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here on the diaspora. This is the House of Seven Beggars, therefore it must be Zeyde Story Corner. That's right, Zeyde Story Corner. And so this one, yeah, this is going to be the last one for the summer, as we have been doing the last number of years. After doing this for long time, yes, long time, we've decided to take the summer off and get some fishing in, and hopefully a little bit of travel and so on and so forth. So we will be this will be the last Zeta Story Corner. Oh, don't look so bad. We'll be back. Oh, yeah, I know you will every year. Yeah, every year we come back. So this will be it until around the time of the High Holy Days. Usually we start up right after Labor Day, and then we have Labor Day, and then right after Labor Day we have Rosh Hashanah. So we'll play it by ear. We may come back for a week and then take a couple of weeks off and then come back again. We shall see. So hopefully, yeah. So let us, I guess we're going to continue reading the silly stories of Helm. That's right. Yeah, from the book, The Silly World of Helm. Okay, let's see who we have in the chat room. We have Donald. We have Veronica, Shoshi, Kelsey Lynn, and Marshall, and was David. And yeah, that's it for now. We're watching in the background. Yeah, we have people watching in the background, and more to come. They usually come strolling in, fashionably late. Yeah, fashionably late. So I guess we should probably get to it. Get as many stories as we can. Yeah, okay. So let's get you on your camera, and then there I am. Okay, so yeah, thank you. That's more comfortable. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we are going to continue on with our stories from the Silly World of Helm. And this one, now if you remember last week, we did the Encyclopedia of Helm. They are writing down all the wonderful wisdom of the Sage of Helm. Well, tonight we pick up with the Encyclopedia of Helm 2. Okay, not as in also, but as in the sequel. Okay, so once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, it was decided that they would create an encyclopedia that would encompass all the great knowledge handed down by their old sage. Okay, very good so far. Okay. As the elders of Helm gathered in the home of the Sage of Helm to record for posterity the knowledge of Helm, Mottled the tailor's apprentice asked the question. When I attended our school in Helm, it was taught that 4 and 3 plus 4 and 3 was 11. This was how I grew up. But when I went to Minsk last year, I found out that in Minsk, 4 and 3 plus 4 and 3 was 14. How could this be? And the old sage smiled warmly My dear brother, he began, you see, our learning comes from experience. Why is 4 and 3 plus 4 and 3, 11 in Helm? Let me explain. Years ago, Helena, the widow, had 4 children. Later, you will remember, she married Pesach, the wine merchant. They lived a fruitful life, and she had 3 more children. But you must also remember that Pesach, the wine merchant, was also widowed, and he had 4 children by his first wife. Pesach then had 3 more children when he married Hannah. So, the 4 and 3 children that Pesach, with the 4 and the 3 that she had, ended up to 11 children. That is why in the village of Helm, 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 is 11. Everyone agreed that here was such great wisdom. No one on this earth, could have even imagined. Ay, what can I say, huh? Okay. Ay, boy. Okay. So now, now David has joined us. Good to have you, David. Okay. We was worried about you. We were wondering where you were. I was about to go send Marshall out to go look for you. Anyway, so you are here. Good. Okay. This story is called The Entrance Examination. Once upon a time, in the little village of Kelm, Mendel, the watchmaker, decided to send his son Yankel to the big city of Minsk to further his education. It's a good thing. It's a worthwhile thing to do. Yeah, I agree. It is. Okay, so the two of them took a little train that went from Helm to Minsk. When they arrived in the big city, they went directly to the school. Mendel introduced himself to the principal, who invited the child into his office to administer the entrance test. In a few minutes, the principal walked out of his office and met with Mendel. I am sorry, but according to the results of the test, I cannot admit your son to our school. Mendel was destroyed and began arguing with the principal. What are you talking about? My son is one of the smartest children in all of Helm. He is honest and sincere and deserves a better education than I ever got. The principal tried to explain. How can I admit him? He got a perfect 0 in the mathematics and a perfect 0 in Chumash. He knows absolutely nothing. I know people like that. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure we all do. So anyway, I'm just saying. Okay, anyway. So, Mendel stiffened. But you admit he was perfect on both counts. Did you try him on history? He has studied American history ever since he was a baby. In our little town of Helm, we have an American history book, and he practically committed it to memory. All right, sighed the principal. I will go and ask him one question dealing with American history. And you will see that I am right, that he knows absolutely nothing. Mendel walked into the principal's office and sat next to his son. The principal turned to the young boy and asked, "Now, tell me, who was it who chopped down the cherry tree?" The youngster knitted his brow and thought for a moment and cried out, "I didn't!" The principal turned to Mendel with a look of despair and sighed, "Well, you heard it with your own ears." Mendel stood up defiantly and snapped, "Listen, if the child says he didn't do it, he didn't do it." Okay. Ay, 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 ay. Okay. So, this one is called The Escape. Once upon a time. There's a lot of that in here. Once upon a time. You'd think they could come up with something a little more original. Yeah, I know, but these were actually told at separate times, so it's yeah, I get that, but just switch it up a little bit. I'm saying, just make it a little more interesting. But anyway, that's the story, so we read the story. Okay. The Escape. Once upon a time, in the little village of Helm. See, this must have been a while ago because, they said it was a town, it was a city, it was a village. They can't keep their story straight. Well, it is Helm. Yeah, you do have a point there. Okay, anyway. In the little village of Helm, the school teacher decided to go on a journey into the hills. His purpose was to draw pictures of some of the flowers and the animal life for his little students. Oh, what a nice thing to do. Yes, it is, yeah. With his pad and pencil under his arm, he hiked up to the mountain and walked for miles. The sun had already set that night, but did not return. In the late evening, was seen running through the village shouting, "Help! Help!" He was as white as a ghost. His clothes were torn, and his face was badly bruised. Shouting for help, he ran straight to the home of the sage of Helm. "Oh, sage," he gasped, "did I just have a close call with death? It was terrible. I ran all the way." And he started to cry. "What is it?" questioned the sage. "What happened to you? Your clothes are torn to shreds, and your face is bruised. You must have encountered a terrible lion." I'm not saying a word. Thank you. Anyway, a terrible lion, or maybe a horrible bear. Tell me quickly, what happened to you?" Well gasped. While I was on the mountain drawing pictures of flowers for my little children, I was attacked by a black snake. A black snake? Gasped the old sage. I don't understand it. All our books tell us that a black snake is not poisonous. Well took a deep breath and sighed. Listen, if he can make you jump off a 50-foot cliff, he doesn't have to be poisonous. And so, till this very day in the village of Helm, a black snake is considered deadly even though it is not poisonous. And there you have it. It sounds like your wife over the weekend. Yeah, I know. Yeah, she saw the snake in the garden. Yes, I know. She got really scared. Yes, I know. And it wasn't even a big snake. Yeah, I know. It was like a 2-foot garter snake. Yeah, I told her to leave it alone. Yeah, they're good in the garden. Yes, I know they are. Okay. So maybe we go on. Okay. Maybe you should read this story to your wife. I don't think she would appreciate it as much as we do. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so discretion being the better part of valor, we shall move on. Okay. This story is called The Executive. Can you guess how this starts out? I bet you can. Once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, Muthel was invited to join a tailoring concern in Minsk. What an honor! Everyone said. Just think, our little Muthel will be with the largest tailoring company in Minsk. Muthel was overwhelmed. He went to the old sage of Helm and told him the good news. Indeed, that is good news, said the old sage. But before you go to the big city, you must dress like an executive you will be when you join the tailoring company. I've never had any new clothes, Muthel explained. Well, new clothes may not be absolutely necessary. After all, if they see you come to work in new clothes, they will think that you are independently wealthy, and then they will not want a wealthy man to work on clothing, explained the old sage. However, you should go to the barber to have the frasier, as we say. Yes, I know, yeah. And have him trim your hair. At least when you arrive, they will know you come from a good community. After all, you will soon be an executive. So Muthel went to the barber's shop. The barber was overwhelmed with Muthel's good luck and began to trim his hair ever so carefully. In a few minutes, the barber had finished. He picked up a mirror and placed it in position so Muthel could see how nicely the barber had removed the hair. Beautiful, Muthel, the tailor said proudly. This haircut is fit for a new executive. Muthel strained his neck to see his reflection. He smiled broadly and replied, That is indeed a beautiful haircut. And I am not one to complain, but do you think you can lengthen it just a bit in the back? So, from that day on, whenever anyone was satisfied with a haircut in Helm, all they had to say to the barber was, "This is a perfect haircut. Just lengthen it in the back a bit, huh?" What are you looking at? Nothing, nothing, nothing. Nice haircut. Thank you very much. Should leave it a little longer in the back next time, huh? Okay. Okay, so this one is called the eye examination. Once upon a time, here we go again. Once upon a time. I could do these stories with my eyes closed half the time, you know that? I thought you were. I'm sorry. Please go on. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, then. Once upon a time, I've got nothing to say. Thank you very much. Once upon a time in the little village of Helm, Herschel, the eye doctor, decided to open a little shop near the village square. He had a hard time getting his practice started because many in the village of Helm had no idea what the eye doctor was going to do to them during an eye examination. "I can help anyone who has difficulty in reading," Herschel announced to a passerby. "I can almost guarantee that anyone who comes to see me will be able to read perfectly." "You see," Herschel explained to an old man who walked into his little shop, "very few people in Helm realize how much better they could read if they had reading glasses." The old man smiled with confidence. "If you would submit to an eye examination," Herschel explained, "and everyone in the village could see what was being done, I am certain everyone else would come to have their eyesight improved." Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, so far it sounds like a good plan. Okay, so where does the helm come in, huh? Okay, so it was announced the next day that Herschel would conduct an eye examination in the window of his little shop. What could possibly go wrong, huh? Okay, let's find out. That afternoon, almost everyone in Helm tried to squeeze in front of the little shop to see what an eye examination was like. When all was in readiness, the old man arrived. The doctor put him in a chair and asked him to read from a large chart that was placed on the wall a few feet away. The old man smiled uneasily and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't read that." Herschel smiled and said, "That's all right. Apparently, your eyes are much worse than we both thought." He moved the chart a few feet closer, then told the old man, Go ahead and read the chart now. Just try to read the first line. The old man squinted and squinted, but shook his shoulders in despair. I'm sorry, I still can't read the chart. Ah, smiled Herschel, you really do need reading glasses. Herschel then opened his little suitcase and took out a brand new pair of eyeglasses. They had shining silver frames that sparkled in the midday sun. He handed them to the old man, who looked at them very curiously. You mean, gasped the old man, if I put these on, I will be able to read that chart? Put them on, and I will guarantee that you will be able to read it perfectly. That's amazing, smiled the old man. Truly amazing. I'll take 2 pair. My wife never learned to read either. Oh my goodness, we're going to keep on going here. Oh, this is getting painful. You know it. Yeah, but you gotta admit they are funny. Yeah, I know they are funny. Yeah. Okay. Also, Regina is here. Hi, Regina, sweetheart. Good to see you. Always good to see you. Okay. So we have another story about eyeglasses. Okay, so this one is called, appropriately enough, The Eyeglasses. Who would have known? Who would have thought, huh? Okay. So, can you imagine what it starts out with? Maybe I should just keep it here. No, I read the whole thing. In the little village of Helm, well, at least this time we didn't start out with once upon a time. Okay, well, we're getting a little variation here. That's good. Okay. So, in the little village of Helm, it was said of Sarah the frugal one that she still had the very first kopeck she had earned. As the years began to roll by, Sarah's eyes began to get tired, and her friends said to her, "Why don't you visit the big city and obtain a pair of those eyeglasses they sell? It is said they let you see almost as good as the day you were born." But Sarah flatly refused. She kept walking into doors, hitched up her horse to the wagon backwards, until finally, when she took the wrong set of children home from school, the old sage of Helm told her she had better get a pair of eyeglasses for her own peace of mind. Despite all this, she still refused. "Don't tell me how to spend my money," she snapped back at all who told her to get eyeglasses. So it was big news in the village of Helm when Sarah marched into the village square sporting a brand new pair of eyeglasses. Everyone complimented her on the glasses and told her they were happy she could see once more. "Tell me," asked the old sage of Helm, "what was it that made you purchase eyeglasses? Was it the fact that you kept hitching up your horse backwards? Or was it when you took the wrong set of children home from the schoolhouse? Or was it when you walked into the wrong house? Tell us, What was the determining factor? Sarah simply shrugged and explained. You know what made up my mind? A few days ago, I was walking in the woods and suddenly I saw a snake poised before me. When I bent down to pick up a stick to hit the stick turned out to be a snake. And the snake I was going to hit turned out to be a stick. It was then I realized I needed glasses. Okay. So, we are going to take our break now. And when we return, we shall continue with the story about the feathers. It's a good story. The feathers. Okay. So, everybody, stay tuned and we will be back in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. You know, it's still raining out there. I know. It's been raining for 2 days. Almost nonstop. Yeah, I know. Hopefully it will stop before it gets to 40, huh? Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I know a lot of people are getting rain where they are. So I guess it's all from this tropical storm that canceled the flight. Yeah, I know. SpaceX didn't get to take off because of the tropical storm. Yeah, I know. They'll reschedule though. Yeah, I can't wait. I want to see that launch. Okay. You know, maybe if they do it late enough, maybe we can actually take a trip down there. Huh? I don't think so, but you know, something could always happen. That's true. Okay. Thank you. I look much better now. Okay. So, this story is called The Feathers. This really shows the wisdom of the great sage of Helm. So pay attention to this one. These are very, very interesting. Okay, so it shows logical thinking. Critical logical thinking. So, oh, by the way, Miriam, I did not see you come in, so I am terribly sorry that I didn't mention you earlier. Okay, so, once upon a time, in the village of Helm, the elders of the city faced a crisis. The farmers of Helm raised geese for their feathers. Now, since everybody in Helm had a pillow and a quilt made of these fine feathers, the demand for goose feathers had dwindled to about 0. Okay, so one day the farmers met and decided that since no one in Helm wanted to buy feathers, they would have to ship their feathers to a village north of the village of Helm. The feather merchants gathered up all their feathers and began loading them on a few donkey carts they had. After the last cart was loaded, they realized they still had a great many feathers left to ship. "What can we do?" the elder Helmites questioned. Let's go to the old sage, one of them shouted. He is the wisest man in Helm. Certainly, he will have an answer to our problem. And so they all went to the house of the sage. The sage listened intently to their problem. I see, the sage said. Your problem is that you have far more feathers than you have donkey carts, and cannot get the remaining feathers to the next village as speedily as possible. They all shook their heads sadly. See, that is shaking your head sadly. Okay, so the old sage went into a trance. Wait, hey. Oh, I'm sorry. I was in a trance. Okay, so anyway, this old sage went into a trance and thought for a moment. A little more than a moment you were gone there. Let's forget about it. Let's move on. Okay, so anyway, then he smiled and made his announcement. There should be no concern because I have the solution. Go outside and tell me quickly in which direction the wind is blowing. The men went outside and noticed that the wind was blowing from the south toward the north. It is so simple, dear brothers, the old sage exclaimed. Since the village you wish to go to is in the north, and since the wind is blowing towards the north, all you have to do is take the feathers and throw them into the wind. The wind will carry the feathers to the village with great speed, and you will not even have to take the donkey carts. The men marveled at his wisdom. So they raced back to the place where they were loading the feathers and threw them into the wind. The wind picked up the feathers and, sure enough, carried them toward the north until they were out of sight. There you go. What can I say, huh? Okay. This next story is called The Fence. Once upon a time, the village council in Helm held a meeting. Sarahaya, who was the most outspoken woman in Helm, rose to her feet and declared, when I was in the big city a short time ago, I saw that every cemetery had a beautiful high fence surrounding it. Therefore, I make a motion that we should put a fence around our little cemetery also. Hilda, another of the outspoken ones, added, I agree 100%. If they have a fence around the cemetery in the big city, it is a sign of progress. Therefore, I second the motion. Yunkel, the tailor, questioned, if we want to spend money to put a fence around our cemetery, there has to be a reason. Sarhaya jumped up and shouted, what other reason do you need? other than to know that if it's done in the big city, it must be important. Absolutely, echoed Hilda Hannah. I heard that a fence around the cemetery is very important, joined in Avram the farmer. Why is it so important? Questioned the uncle, the tailor. Why? Replied Avram thoughtfully. Because if it wasn't important, would they put a fence around the cemetery in a big city where there are so many other important places to put a fence around? Well, the debate went on for hours until finally it was decided that they should go to the old sage of Helm. Who didn't see that coming, eh? To see what he had to say. The delegation soon arrived at the home of the old sage. Our problem, they began, is whether or not to put a fence around our cemetery, just like they have in the big city. The old sage went into deep thought, then smiled broadly and announced, "It is my decision that we do not need a fence around our cemetery like they have in the big city, because those outside don't want to go in, and those inside cannot get out anyway." And so, till this very day, in the little village of Helm, there is no fence around its cemetery because, after all, isn't it logical? Okay. So, now, before a couple of weeks ago, we read the story about the Helm and the financial crisis that the city had and how they were laying off people, and then, they did away with the taxes and all that stuff. So this is the follow-up to that story. So, and if you missed that story, I am sorry, but we give you a little synopsis, okay? Here we go. The financial crunch. The village of Helm. Boy, this one started out different. Yes, it did. It did, in fact, start out different. Okay, we get some variety. Okay, the village of Helm was suffering from a financial problem. When the town funds were first depleted, they decided to outlaw crime and close down the police department to save money. When their financial problems continued, they stopped paving the roads. This saved money, but since the roads caused damage to all sorts of vehicles, fewer salesmen came to the village, and even less taxes were collected. So they decided to fire the mayor. But that was not enough. The teachers were not paid and decided to return to their farms. The children were left to teach themselves. Finally, the money problem got so tremendous that the mayor of Helm went back to his farm and the village had no mayor. Finally, the sage of Helm questioned why they even needed taxes, since there were no services being extended to the community. As a result, he ordered that there be no taxes collected. Well, I wish I lived there right now. Yeah, I bet a lot of people wish they lived there right now. Okay, anyway, so Once word leaked out that there were no taxes in Chelm, people from all the neighboring villages began to move in. Those who needed houses built their own and paved their own streets. Those who wanted their children to learn hired their own teachers. Those who had treasures to protect hired their own police. So the tiny village of Helm began to prosper. So that is where the last story left off. So let us see what happens now. It was the only village in the world where there were no taxes. Everyone was happy, as you can imagine, huh? Then one day, the sage of Helm met with all the newcomers and announced, "Isn't it foolish that each of you have to pave your own street? Why don't you all chip in together and hire just a few people to pave your streets?" And this business of everyone hiring their own teacher is foolishness. If you all chip in, you could hire just 1 or 2 teachers who could teach 20 or 30 children at a time and save even more money. And those of you who have hired guards to protect your treasures, how foolish! Why don't you hire 1 or 2 trustworthy men to guard all your treasures? And so it was agreed that everyone would pool the cost of the services and save tremendous amounts of money. Additionally, everyone agreed that there should be a person who would oversee all these services. "Why don't we call that person a mayor?" suggested the wise men of Helm. And so, this was how the tiny village of Helm solved their financial problem. Coming full circle. Okay, we have time for another one. Maybe 2. We shall see. Okay. This one is called The Fire. Once upon a time, in the village of Helm, a fire broke out in an old barn. God forbid, huh? The fire blazed and blazed. No matter what the old farmer and his wife and his son did, they could not put out the fire. In desperation, the old farmer ran to the house of the old sage of Helm. "Please, dear sage," he said, "we need your advice. My barn is burning down, and we cannot put out the flames. They are getting ever so close to my house. What can we do?" The old sage put his hand to his chin and thought for a moment. Then he turned to the old farmer and questioned, "Tell me, my friend, did you at least throw some water on the flames?" The old farmer nodded. "Of course. That's why I didn't call the fire department. After all, that's all they would have done if they had come." The old sage nodded in agreement and continued in deep contemplation. Then, suddenly, as if a light were turned on, he shouted, "I have a solution!" He took the old farmer by the hand and said, "You must understand that in order to put out the fire, you must wait until nightfall." The farmer was puzzled, but feared asking any further questions. After all, who would question the wisdom of the sage of Helm? Indeed. Okay. And so he returned to his home to watch the barn continue to burn. They waited and waited until night fell. Then the farmer and his wife and son grabbed the buckets of water from the old well and began throwing them on the smoldering remains of the fire that was going out on its own. In a short time, with the buckets of water being thrown on the embers, the fire was finally out. The old farmer was overjoyed that the sage's advice proved to be right once more. And so he returned to the home of the old sage to thank him. Tell me, old sage, how is it that you knew that we could only put out the fire at night time? The sage smiled warmly and explained, My son, don't you see? At night time, when the flames are brightest, it is the only time you can see where to put the fire out. The old farmer nodded knowingly. Indeed, what brilliance! What a mind! What brilliance, what a mind indeed. Never mind, let's just go on with the story, shall we? Okay. And so, it was throughout the history of Helm, whenever a fire broke out, everyone would wait until nighttime before throwing water on it, because then they could see where to put out the fire. Okay. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Since this is the last night before the summer, we will finish the last one, the fisherman. Now, you know how much the Rebbitzin loves to fish, right? And you like to fish too. Yes, I do. I do like to fish very much. Yes, so you should really like this story because it is called The Fisherman. And this has got some good advice for you and the Rebbitzin. You should do what is in the story. You know, seeing that you are from Helm, don't start that with my family being from Helm. I'm just saying. Okay, don't get so upset about it. Okay, you will see how the story works in your favor, okay? Okay, let's see. Okay, so may I continue? Yes, you may continue. Okay. The fisherman. There was let's see, here we go. A little bit of variation in the stories makes it a little more interesting. Okay. Can we get on without the review? Yes, okay. I'm just pointing it out to everybody. Okay. So let's get with the story here. We're running out of time. We're going to run a little long anyway. Okay, so anyway. There was a little stream just outside the village of Helm that was said to have wonderful fish. So when Yunkel decided to go fishing with the old sage of Helm, everyone expected them to catch a load of fish. But it didn't quite happen. They rowed out into the middle of the stream, threw out their lines, but didn't get a single nibble. Then they moved to the side of the stream and put their lines, and again, not a single nibble. Finally, the boat drifted toward the end of the stream. When they threw out their lines, the fish started biting as if they hadn't eaten in years. In less than an hour, they had a boat loaded with fish. That was some fishing spot, the uncle exclaimed to the old sage, the wisest man in Helm. Indeed it was, the old sage replied. We ought to come back tomorrow and fish some more. We could catch enough fish to feed almost the entire village of Helm, the uncle smiled. I absolutely agree, the old sage joined in. But how will we find that exact spot we fished in? Oh, that's easy, replied the uncle. You see, just before we left that spot, where the fish were swarming under the boat, I marked a big X under the bottom of the boat. That was very smart, agreed the old sage, who sat in deep thought. Then suddenly he knitted his brow. Oh no, he exclaimed. What's the matter? Pleaded the uncle. Well, we rented the boat from Shepsel's boatyard, and Shepsel has a great many boats that he rents out. Ah, the sage sighed. What if we don't get the same boat tomorrow? The uncle thought for a moment, then agreed. I never thought of that. It's not too late, suggested the old sage. We still have time to run back before he rents the boat to anyone else. Of course, agreed the uncle. But what will we do when we get back to the boat? Oh, that's easy, smiled the old sage. We will punch a hole in the bottom of the boat so that it will sink to the bottom of the stream. In that way, no one will ever know the boat existed, and our fishing spot will be preserved. Anyway, and so, if you ever pass through the village of Helm and see a boat under the water, look again for the big X on the bottom of the boat, because that's the spot where a uncle and the old sage found an excellent place to catch fish. And there you have it, friends. This is going to be our last broadcast until after the summer. I hope you all have a wonderful summer with lots of fishing and lots of, hopefully you will be able to go out and be with friends and family and all that. We will return after the summer, and we will pick up with more stories from the silly world of Helm. Don't forget that Wednesday night is the last Torah study for the summer. But of course, Shabbat services will continue as they always do. Until we see you again, my dear friends, we shall simply say, Lehitraot.